story. Let's go to Boston. Rodrigo Diamanti is the head of the NGO A World Without a Gag, who had to flee Venezuela himself after being imprisoned there. Let me ask you, thank you for speaking with us, first of all, here on France 24.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Let me begin with your thoughts on the start of Luisa Ortega's exile.
Well, I think what is doing the government right now is to undermine her reputation. We knew before the new attack started that this was going to happen, because it's basically how the government tried to attack the opponents that they can't silence anymore, because, well, right now she's in the exile. She already mentioned that she have all the proof, not only of corruption, but something that is even more important is proof that can be used at The Hague to persecute them, to determine if there are crimes against humanity in Venezuela at this moment. And I think the government should be even more worried about that. But definitely right now, the General Attorney, Luisa Ortegas, is the best asset that we have right now to demonstrate all the corruption, but also all the human rights violation being committed by the regime in the last years.
What's her motivation?
Well, she had been working with the regime for many years. It was a surprise for everyone last April when the government tried to eliminate the Congress. It was the first time that she opposed the regime. I think she just thought that this was going too far, that, you know, the dictatorship, that maybe she didn't want to be part of a dictatorship. And she was finding this right moment to step aside and starting to saying the truth, because she had been very silent for the last 10 years. She was also maybe involved, or definitely involved, in some human rights violation by permitting them while she was the general attorney. But definitely the situation was not like this. Now is that we are talking finally that we have the dictatorship in Venezuela, and even more than 40 countries at this moment do not accept that that the government has eliminated the Congress, has eliminated the Constitution. Even countries like Canada only support the National Assembly as the only legitimate institution right now at the country, because definitely the dictatorship is outside of the law. And I think this was just too far for her.
Too far for her.
Yes,
did Luisa Ortega Diaz escape Venezuela, or did the government want to push her out?
No, she had to escape. She was going to be in prison, just like me and many others that had opposed in the past. We have right now more than 600 political prisoners in Venezuela. I'll give you an example. In Cuba, their number is around 80. And in Venezuela is more than 650 political prisoners right now, just for opposing the government. And this was going to happen to her and to her husband. And that's why they escaped through Aruba and then to Colombia. Now she's in Brazil, talking about cases of corruption. But again, even more important about that the corruption's accusation is the investigation that is going on about crimes against humanity. Just to inform everybody, just in the last 3 months, the government had killed more than 150 innocent people on the streets. Even the High Commission of Human Rights at the UN have determined that are generalized and systematic attacks against humanity in Venezuela occurring at this point. And definitely it's something that the international community should consider and respond to that.
What's life in exile like these days for someone like Luisa Ortega, who's just fled the country?
Well, I think it's just like the same experience like me. If you continue the fight from the outside, if you are able to help to raise your voice, right now the Venezuelans that can help the most Venezuela are the Venezuelans living in the exile, living outside Venezuela, because, well, we are safe. We can explain what is happening. We can go to the international community, international media to explain what is happening. And that's what she's doing right now. And not only her, all the mayors. Just last week, the government tried to put in prison one of the two most important mayors in Caracas, and they had to escape. Ramon Muchacho, the mayor of Chacao, escaped. Another mayor, David Smolansky, is now trying to survive hidden in Caracas because he doesn't want to escape from Venezuela. But at the end, that's going to happen to all the most important leaders. The most important leader of the opposition, or will have to go to jail or deal with exile. And this is why we need international community. I don't think we will resolve this problem, this tragedy, by ourselves. And this is a problem that it will not affect only Venezuela. We're talking that it's a regime that have a strong connection with narcotraffic. It's a hub of narcotraffic, and has also connection with radical groups like Hezbollah. The vice president has publicly supported Hezbollah and other groups that related to terrorism. And these days that we need to fight terrorism, definitely Venezuela will become a threat, not only to America, but other countries like Europe, because there are radicals that they don't believe in
Rodrigo,
any legal procedure, they don't believe in democracy, rights, or anything.
Rodrigo, let me ask you, you're in Florida, where on Wednesday there was some very strong words by the Vice President, Mike Pence, against the regime in Venezuela. On Tuesday, there were hints from the Trump administration that companies could be barred from buying bonds from Venezuela, which would effectively make the oil industry there collapse. Is that something you'd favor?
Definitely. I think that the only way to stop this regime, I don't believe in military actions. I believe in international support and sanctions against the member of the regime, and to stop, they have to stop the government to find money to maintain the dictatorship running. I think that's one measure. I think Europe have to find other measures to pressure even countries like China and Russia that are giving money to the dictatorship, because they, without money, will not survive. This is a military regime, but the militaries, if they see they will have to deal with The Hague and the International Criminal Court, if they don't have money to give it to their families and to have a future, definitely the military will separate and will not continue supporting the regime. And that's one of the windows that we have to finish this dictatorship, because protest is not enough. People have been protesting for the last 4 months, more than 2,000 people being wounded, more than 100 being killed, and it's not enough for the regime.
There needs to be outside pressure, is what you're saying. Rodrigo Diamanti Rodrigo Diamanti of the NGO A World Without a Gag, many thanks for joining us from Miami.
Thank you very much.
Hundreds of Moroccans